Okay, let's call this regular Oscoda Township Board meeting to order. It's February 22nd at 7 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of the United
United
States
States of America
and to the
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
All right, we'll start with roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Here.
Ms. McGuire?
Here.
Mr. Spencer?
Present.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Mr. Sutton here. Mr. Wusterbarth?
Present.
Ms. Richards?
Here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with the share screen. Got too many things. Wait 1 second, let me just share the. Okay, did the meeting come up now? Then on the share screen?
Nope.
No.
Oh, I have to hit the share button. Now did it?
There you go.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, sorry about that. Do we have any agenda additions this evening? I think we were going to switch, right, Mitch? It's not really an addition. Did I mute him? A change, yes, sorry. I somehow or another muted him. Let me just find him. Come on, people. We were just changing the Planning Commission update, annual update to under number 4, subcommittee reports, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but let me, just find. Where'd you go?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry
Yes,
about that,
Doug.
Mitch.
No problem. Yes, the Planning Commission annual update, move to the report line.
Okay. All right, everything else okay then?
Yes.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the change for the Planning Commission to number 4 under subcommittee reports and project updates.
Okay. Support. Motion by Sutton, support by McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next time we have the consent agenda. We have some work session meeting minutes from February 5th. Any comments on those? Okay, we have the regular meeting minutes from February 8th. Everybody all right with those? Okay, and actually the payment of bills, we were going to pull the PAR out of there, weren't we?
That is correct.
Okay, so that would deduct the total amount by the 70, what's that? 72,000, is that what, correct?
71,300.
300.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So any questions on the two then, the prepaid or the check run? All right, then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
I so move.
Okay, is there a
Support.
second? Or support?
Second.
All right, so motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call?
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
yes,
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, now we're on to the subcommittee reports and project updates. We're going to start with row engineering. Sorry, I just have to. There's people in the waiting room. I gotta allow them in, and then now I need to find row.
If I'm already unmuted, Ann.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did that earlier. Look at that. I was thinking.
There you go.
But then I forgot I was thinking. Is anybody else on with you, Rick?
No,
or just you?
just me tonight.
Okay, all right, you're up then.
Good evening, everybody.
oh,
Real quick, future water main phases. Phase A, Woodland. We're finalizing the funding, getting that in line for construction this upcoming season. That's the one that the ECWAG amounts changed a little bit on us, so we're working with Troy Shank at USDA to come up with a backup plan, and or this still could be funded if the C2R2 grant application is a success, and it would be rolled into that. So phase B, G, and the F41 portion of phase H, final plans are being wrapped up with Eagle right now. The permit for construction has been issued, and then a couple of other permit applications were submitted to the township today. One with the road commission, just to be able to work in there right away, and two, soil erosion sedimentation control with Iosco County Building Department. So we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's and moving those projects along, and with an anticipated construction start up, probably it could get started in June. Most likely we'll probably start it up right after the 4th of July holiday, but we would still have plenty of time to wrap those projects up this construction season. Sanitary sewer project system is basically on the same schedule. And final plans have been into Eagle for their review. Working on a couple of temporary easements for during construction to have adequate access to a couple of the stations for the work that needs to be done. But again, that's moving along basically the same timetable. Construction maybe starting in June, most likely right after the 4th. There'll be a little bit of lead time there because it'll be the contractor having to order equipment and such, but the duration of that project is really over 2 seasons, 2021 and 2022, and there might even be a little bit leaking into 2023. So moving on down, Old Orchard Campground, the public dock erosion. I believe later on in the agenda, there's a recommendation to have this project now awarded to John Henry Excavating. We met with Mr. Mitchell, Al, and Gary from the campground a week ago Friday, and came up with a way to phase this project over the next 2 budget years, the current budget year and next year, to fit within the funding limits that the township has available. And the recommendation is to move forward. Phase 1, which will be for this spring, will be the steel sheet piling to address the shoreline erosion and the drainage. And then next year would be some of the finished restoration, permanent restoration, and then also the wood deck that goes along with the steel sheet piling and the stairs along the side of the beach area to access this area. So that's that. The next project that we'll be stepping up here a little bit just to get to the spring schedule that's out there is the trail project. We have continuing to explore a variety of funding options that the township can pursue and should pursue to come up with the remaining local match to get us out to the campground entrance. Since the last report, we have, I'll say, resubmitted the Consumers Energy Planet grants that we had submitted last year on, but last year all the money went to COVID. This year, we've been told that the funding will go back to their traditional projects that they've awarded, and we had a good review last year, so hopefully we are in the same standing this year and are successful. And we have applied for up to the 250,000, which is the missing local component to get, like as I said, to get us out to the campground entrance. Being ultra conservative and again attempting to capture as much opportunity as possible. We are also submitting or recommending to submit on a USDA Rural Business Development Grant which covers a portion of the engineering costs associated with the project up to $99,000. And there is, I believe, a resolution tonight on the agenda for the township to pass to go ahead and allow us to get this grant application submitted. Again, it takes us over some of what we need, but depending on if we get, not the full 250 on a grant or something else, we want to make sure that we've got all of our bases covered. And if for some reason we've went after more than what we need and received more than what we need, the township would not have to accept, and it wouldn't be detrimental to the township if that actually came to fruition. But we should be hearing any day now on the final disposition of the trust fund grant. Late last fall, the township was notified that you've passed the application and such, and now it's just a matter of crossing the T's and dotting the I's, which is that's a $300,000 grant that goes towards this project. So once again, the plans are essentially all done and ready, whether we go to Foot Village or if we end up able to going all the way to the campground entrance. So from a design standpoint, we're in pretty good shape, whichever point of ending we end up with. So it'll be just a matter of getting the money in place. Wordsmith Base infrastructure study project. We had a meeting again a week ago Friday out at the airport with Mr. Kellen, Mr. Mitchell, and a couple of my project managers on Roadside to kick that project off. We got a lot of good information from Gary and kind of the footprint that we need to look at, kind of some of the past work that's been done out there, some of the investigations that have been done. And now we are basically full steam ahead on looking at the water infrastructure, the sanitary sewer infrastructure, the road and storm sewer infrastructure, and getting a decent evaluation of the existing condition and capacity. And then also we'll be looking at obviously funding sources and prioritizing of projects to get this area predetermined as far as what would be needed for any commercial, industrial, or possible even some residential development out there. So that's going along well. The Ratliff Park ADA kayak launch and access. Again, the preliminary plans are essentially done. Preliminary construction costs, materials, which are looking to be part of those materials are looking to be donated. We're looking at about $80,000 estimate on materials. 40 of that in itself is the actual kayak ramp, which comes from a manufacturer and and would be installed by them. The rest of the material are some work on the existing wood deck or wood shoreline deck that was done out there to rework that to better, obviously, lead into the approach to the fishing pier and kayak launch. And then also grading and possibly paving of the path from the parking area down to this and making that ADA accessible. So that gives you kind of an idea where this thing would be at. A possible funding source to help out with that would be a passport application through the DNR. That application would be due if we decide to go that route, April 1st. And then, like I said, funding could be up to 150,000 with a 20% local match. But I think with the donations that on materials and our services, that would easily cover the 20% local match. And then the rest of the material purchase or whatever could be, and the launch could be taken care of as far as that grant would go if we choose to go that route. And essentially that is all I have on active projects. We've got a few projects that are on hold. And the list is there, list of projects completed. So that's all I have. And if anybody has any questions that I can answer, I can take care of those now.
Yeah, Rick, this is Bill
Yes.
Palmer. Did you have an amount for that, the phase 1 of the Old Orchard Park? It said in the packet you would have an amount.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes. What we've got is the steel sheet piling, like I said, well, removal of the old deck that's out there, installing of the new sheet piling, and then they're going to put up for this season, this upcoming season, a fine coursed gravel that will be accessible or amenable to pedestrian traffic, boat traffic, the boat users there. And we're looking at about $98,000. And I think that's about where we were at with what was kind of set aside for this. That's what I believe Al had mentioned. But John Henry also said that he would work with us. If it goes over a little bit or whatever, he's got no problem holding on to that, getting the work done this year. And then if it needed to be picked up a little bit extra in phase 2 for the second year, we could budget accordingly. But we should be online to stay within what was programmed for this year.
All right, thank you.
Yep. That includes the drainage too. I'm sorry.
I just have a comment, more of a housekeeping from a few meetings ago. We were going to schedule in a work session with Rick to go through the water main and sewer improvements as a board, just to go through it one by one for us. And just wondering, Mitch, where that stands.
I have not even tried to schedule that, so we'll have to try to talk about that.
And my schedule is fairly open, so whenever it fits with your schedule, I can plan on being in attendance and provide the summary as you were requesting.
Thank you.
Okay. And then you're gonna hang around, right, for the row invoices to go over those
Yes.
in a
Yep.
couple?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
Great.
I'll be around.
Okay, all right, any other questions for Rick before we move on? All right, then next on would be the EIC director, Todd. And I'll unmute Ryan as well. As I find you. Okay, there's Ryan. And there's Todd.
All right. Good evening. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Excellent. Before I get started, I have one housekeeping question for Mitch, just so I don't duplicate or confuse anybody any more than they need to be. Item number 2, under resolutions and ordinances, the Planning Commission annual update. Is that in fact the annual update we've talked about for March 16th or March 18th at 6 p.m.?
Nope.
Okay,
No.
great. Then I know what to say now. As it relates to the annual update. So I've provided the board and for the packet, a 29-page document that constitutes the Economic Improvement Committee's annual report. I have 2 choices. I could kind of hit the highlights for you, or I could go through all 29 pages. Which would you like?
I like,
Hit the highlights? Okay. All right,
Yeah.
good. In fact, a lot of the first portion of that is some formality stuff, some housekeeping stuff. I don't want to waste your time with that tonight. I think there's some good content in 5.0 that talks about, what we've done and some of the gains that we've had and, why we exist. And you can read that, or you can go to the appendix and look at the dashboards. I provide these dashboards every month, but I've given you a look at what it looked like January 1, 2020, and what it looked like January 31st or December 31st, 2020. So we were really just kicking off Play Sleep when I came to the township in November. So we really didn't get much accomplished other than getting our feet on the ground. So you'll see that Play Sleep was pretty much at zeros first of the year. And we finished off end of the year at 60% complete in the Play Sleep community and 27% complete in Play Sleep downtown. And then our quest for RRC certification, we started off at about 26% complete, and we're sitting at 70% complete. I do talk a little bit about the RRC under goals 6.3. Ryan has done a great job in helping us accelerate, those activities, and I feel like March, April timeframe, we'll be doing maybe some ribbon cutting on the RRC portion of the community and toasting some champagne and rah-rah. So that's all good stuff there. And then I kind of get into a little bit of, on that dashboard, a little bit of the projects, how many were carryovers, how many were active carryovers, close projects, and then comparing that to what we did in 2020. So all total, we counted out 37 projects that either came through the Economic Improvement Office or came through zoning, and maybe it stayed in zoning, but between Eric and I, we've got 37 basically non-single family residential projects. 22 of them are still active, and there have been 13 that have been closed out. Under the goals piece of this, again, a lot of heavy content. You'll see under the Play Sleep implementation community plan, we've got objectives basically 4 objectives we're going to focus on for this year. The launch initiative. We're going to do our darndest to facilitate the creation of more rental housing, whether it's popular or not, because I think it's what the community needs. So that'll be a focus. Objective number 9, manufacturing attraction program. We won't be successful with that. Never fails, Ann. Never fails.
I know, yeah. Sorry,
Sorry.
quiet that dog down.
Manufacturing attraction programs, which again, we won't be very successful unless we have housing for the potential for new employees that might show up for that. And then we're going to look hard at the grant programs still in place there. Under the downtown plan, create vibrancy grants, improve walkability and traffic calming, create more public art, and we're currently looking at an archway project for the downtown. And then the last one, the 6.4, under additional responsibilities, it's still my charge to market the community, market the township-owned property, attract new business and investment projects, be a partner to the MEDC under any of their future COVID and small business grants, and work on, get a little more active with the Brownfield redevelopment program. So, I mean, that's kind of line by line, point by point. And if I'm most of you, why do we care? Why are we even going through this process? And I can sum it up with we want to grow as a community. We have to create housing. We have to create a vibrant community. And we have to create jobs and create a place where our current employees can live and make it a good and prosperous place for them to live in our community. All the goals that we have for 2021 look to accomplish that. So however much time you want to take and read any of this, I mean, that really is what we're trying to do. Create a vibrant community. I have one other thing I want to present, but I'll take questions at this time.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Todd, board wise? Board member wise, I should say. Okay,
All right.
hearing none, go ahead, and you said you had something else you wanted to present?
Yeah. I think it ties into what our goals are. I think I was brought here to try to help the community grow. I believe in smart growth, but a lot of what I had heard when I got here is, gosh, how come we have empty storefronts? And, how come people won't invest in our town? And how come we don't have housing? And so a lot of those things I've been working on to try to make it better for the community. We had a lot of drama the last 2 weeks about Renovari and the potential for their development. And I want to share with the board and the general public a letter I received from Renovari today. And I'm going to go ahead and read it. If you guys don't have any objections, it's not very long. I'll be quick. So this is in regards to the purchase and sale of property, commonly known as tax parcel ID, essentially for Taw Field. Dear Township Board, Administration, and staff, we wanted first to thank you for all the time we were afforded recently to discuss overall recommendations for development in your community. We based our recommendations on over 2 years of observations, data gathering, meetings, and data analysis. Our mission is to complete transformational mixed-use real estate development projects in urban neighborhoods and rural main streets that provide comprehensive solutions to community need. Our approach involves close collaboration with municipal partners and the community at large. We submitted a letter of intent to enter into site control for Taw Field in 2020. Our vision for this included keeping, and this is where I really want the general public to pay attention, because there's a lot of chatter on Facebook about what you didn't want or what you thought this might include. And I want you to know what you chased away. Our vision for this site included keeping 2/3 of the property publicly owned and operated with improvements such as a pavilion, retail pop-up sheds, public art, an amphitheater, and adequate green space for beloved festivals. We proposed a mixed-use development on 1/3 of the site, including workforce housing, which is not Section 8, and a workforce development center linking residents to the incoming space industry, which means linking our residents to good paying jobs of that industry. Since that time, we have received feedback from the public that a lack of clarity and consensus exists in regard to the appropriate future use for this site. In addition, A published process for the disposition of publicly owned property does not currently exist. While we remain committed to Oscoda, we believe infrastructure for engagement must be built between the township and its residents, and more dialogue must be supported on this topic. A published process for the disposition of public property is essential. Therefore, with this letter, we respectfully rescind our letter of intent on Furtall Field. We look forward to participating in future conversations about the needs of the community and the potential opportunities for development that will drive the type of growth that the community desires, and finding an alternative site for a walkable mixed-use project. Sincerely, Renovaré Development, Jill Ferrari and Shannon Morgan. So, while disappointing, I mean, I don't know how many of the board members find that disappointing. I do, because it's been over a year of my work trying to help the community grow. Turns out it's interesting. I'm excited that because of all the publicity, because of all the Facebook commentary, good and negative, that has been out there for the last 2 weeks, I'm getting inundated with calls from investors, from developers, wanting to know what's going on in Oscoda and what kind of opportunities are there for them to come and invest. So if there's a silver lining, there's a lot more people who know about Oscoda, and they're interested in coming in and doing investment deals with us. So that is what I wanted to present there. And then I guess that last item that goes back to the annual report is the annual meeting that the board has to schedule for RRC. That is a recap of all of our board's annual reports. So Eric with the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals will have a report. I'll represent this EIC report, and the Board of Reviews will have, whatever report theirs will contain. We've got that preliminary set for that March, and I think it's this, I got to double check the date here before I confuse people. March 18th, that's a Thursday at 6 p.m., tentatively at the Warrior Pavilion, if we can all meet in person. And I think the expectation was we will put that on the board's agenda for the March 8th meeting for you guys to then go ahead and set that work session. So, and that's some clarification on that email that we had today.
Right. Todd's referring to an email that I received from one of the, oh gosh, she's on a couple boards. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and she's on the the building authority as well, that
Yep.
she'd received from Eric about a meeting of all the boards, and I didn't know really much about it. So
Yeah, that's what it was. And again, I apologize if I played a role in
that's okay.
keeping the board up to date. I apologize for that.
We got a lot of stuff going on. So I just wanted to make sure, because obviously that's a big to do, to try to get all the boards, in the best availability, all of that. I didn't want to wait too long to get
Yeah.
that information out. So
Yeah. So hopefully, we can do it March 18th. I'd love to. I mean, if we feel like we've got to have more time, I mean, it won't be a deal breaker if we end up punting that into April, if you guys feel better about that.
my
Right.
suggestion would be that we do one of those, and there's probably different services, but that doodle pad or doodle, whatever, I don't know, doodle something, where you send out, to everybody and they do their availability. I think that works pretty well for these kind of things. So
Okay.
would comment, but I am muted. Sorry, Eric. I didn't know.
That's okay. I didn't want to, in my time here, I just want to make sure that I threw that date out there. If we've got to rework that, we can, but for the most part, that concludes.
You should
my-
be unmuted, Eric.
Yeah, and I think that date works perfect. I want to let everybody know that there are certain regulations with Senate bills and everything else that may dictate whether we can meet in person or not meet in person. And that's
Yeah.
all I have to say.
Okay, yeah, well, I was more talking about that date meeting, we have a bunch of people that have jobs that might be out of the town or whatever else. So,
Yeah.
yep, we need as many people to be able to participate as possible. So never mind whether the state's going to allow us to meet or not, which would be great if they would, but anyways. Okay, any other comments under the EIC director update?
Thanks for the update, Todd.
Yep,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you. Okay, then moving on to, as supervisor sit on the Airport Authority Board. Mr. Steve Westerbarth is the alternate on that. At the last meeting, I just wanted to give a brief update. The last meeting, they talked about the Michigan Aerospace. They're still working on their application. And the Airport Authority is actually getting cost proposals to amend their master plan to basically proactively prepare for the launch initiative, taking a positive approach to the fact that we, will get it hopefully in the next year. So that is one thing that they're working on. And then I just wanted to mention also that the United States Air Force is planning a mobility drill this summer, May 14th through the 26th. It's something I've heard about like for the last year or so in the community, where people in the grocery store or whatever keep talking about that the Air Force is coming back and they're going to be reoperating, at the out at the airport. I just wanted to clarify that it is strictly a drill. They will be here between May 14th and 26th, as long as, everything can be set in place and they, there have to be agreements and stuff. But they're going to do a drill and they're strictly staying out on the Airport Authority. It could be a maximum of about 350 people. They're going to have camps out there. Food is going to stay out there. I mean, they are not leaving whatsoever, the Airport Authority. So, and depending on what's going on with COVID at that time, then those safe practices will have to occur out there as well. So anyways, more to come. And I think you'll see some stuff in the press on that. So those were the two big ones there. Then after that, moving on to number 4, which is the Planning Commission annual update. Eric, I believe I still have you unmuted. But if you accidentally, or if you hit a button, then you might have muted yourself. But let me just see.
So I do. I have the Planning Commission annual update here. And part of it is the Planning Enabling Act. So it's state law that we give an annual update through the Planning Commission. So the only thing I ask is that this be incorporated in the minutes. As far as that, any correspondence or any questions you have or anything like that, I'm more than willing to answer.
Okay, does anybody have anything for Eric this evening in regard to that report?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, well, thanks, Eric, for attending. For any questions, if anybody has any follow-up ones, everybody knows how to get a hold of them, so shoot them an email or whatever.
I do think there were some important aspects of that report, and I think one of them were the board member resignations in general. I think that's one important thing to acknowledge, and I think the other thing is where our permits go. And I think accessory structures, and I think that's something important that we need to acknowledge as far as uses go from the Planning Commission level. And that's really all I have to present to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on now to the, let me find my agenda again. Superintendent's report. Mitch?
Yes, first
Okay.
thing is the municipal underwriters par plan bill.
Mhm.
I recommend the board would make a motion to approve this invoice in the amount of $71,300 for our package plan.
Hey, is there any discussion or a motion?
This is that $71,000 for the
Our-
Wi-Fi enabled pumps.
No, this is for our
Oh.
insurance.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
par.
Power plan.
Well, I move that we approve the $71,300 expenditure for the Municipal Underwriters of West Michigan, Inc.
Okay, is there support? I'm
Support.
sorry. Okay, motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Westerbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
yes,
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
and Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next on are the row 2020 invoices. So,
Okay, the township received a number of these recently, and we are trying to close out the 2020 fiscal year. We got these at a point where I can't personally confirm these, as I wasn't present when this work was completed. Rick, I know you're still on the line. I'm hoping you would be willing to talk about these with the board before they render a decision to pay them, if you are still so available.
I was just looking for them. I gotta just unmute them. Sorry, I couldn't find them for a second. But I did. Sorry.
No, no problem.
All right, thanks, Rick.
Yeah, yes, and what these are associated with, 3 of them are associated with the water main work that I just did reported on, the phase A, Woodland, B, G, and part of F41. And what happened was, we had set it up that all of the invoices were to come through me and then go to the superintendent and Tammy Klein. These 4 invoices, I think, I'm sorry. No, actually 3 on the water main, 1 at the pump station, and 2 on Old Orchard. The accountant that was working on these with one of my other project managers didn't get these invoices to me, and they got unfortunately lost in our system. We didn't find them until I did an audit at the end of the year, and actually what I'm doing is I'm putting together a spreadsheet for the township to use, because you'll be able to get reimbursed for all these invoices on the water and sewer. And when I was going down through it, I realized we had not gotten paid on them. I sent them up to Mitch and Tammy to make sure we weren't missing something, that they hadn't gotten through your system, and they were paid. And basically that's where we're at. These are unpaid invoices from the water and sewer project and Old Orchard Campground from July, August, and September of 2020. With these being taken care of, then we are current for 2020, and our system is now all invoices go through me to Mitch and Tammy on a monthly basis.
What I'd like to do, just to make sure that it's kind of done the right way, is we should take each invoice separately, and they should be motioned and approved separately. And so if in looking at, and I'm trying to look at these in sequential, how they're presented in the packet. The first would be invoice number 0095371. And this is for Oscoda phases A and B water mains. And the total amount due is $26,892.50. So a motion to that would be in order.
So we've got five different invoices spanning a bunch of different months, totaling $121,445.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And are all these, I phases A and B. Sorry, I'm looking at my map. Those are where? I'm sorry, Rick.
Phase A is Green Street and Oscoda Street, Green Street, Oscoda Street, and Beach.
Are those the ones out by,
They're just south, actually, they're just south of Loud Drive where Van Etten Drive comes up on that side of the lake,
oh, yeah, okay.
that neighborhood down in there. We've got, I believe there's been a couple of residences down there that their wells have failed. So that's why we had moved that project up to kind of a high priority on the list to get water in there. I can say that we are significantly under budget on all these projects, so.
You can say that we are, or you can't. I didn't.
We are
Okay.
under budget on all these projects, so.
And all this engineering is paid, I mean, this is through grant funds and stuff for this?
Yes, and what it will be is once we close on all the grants and such, we will then, Jamie then will be able to ask for reimbursement. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a spreadsheet so that it has all of this listed out. And then she can go right to those agencies and request reimbursement. And that even goes back to the rate studies that you performed and all of that stuff. You'll be able to get reimbursed on all of that work also.
So you see, so these invoices were lost, is what you said?
They actually, they were never submitted by our company. The accountant that was working on it, she never sent them to Jamie or Dave Schaefer at the time, or Tammy. And because we had a couple of different project managers, including myself, they got lost in our system as far as not being collected.
Okay, but these are all in, I mean, if we had the documents in front of us today, would be in theory in the grant application underneath engineering costs that are estimated, and you're saying that we're below that estimate on each one of these.
That is correct, on both
Okay.
the water, sewer, and then the Old Orchard Campground invoices were the two invoices that got us to, basically where we are tonight as far as the bid for John Henry.
But that isn't grant, that is
That is
grant
not,
funded.
that
Yeah,
was, that
right.
was, that
That's
was
just a
programmed
project.
by the township.
Right,
That's
okay.
correct.
So
All right.
could we, Ann, could we just go through our packet here and review each invoice
Mhm.
and then make a motion to approve the total invoices, or I mean, if there's
I would
any-
recommend you do it separate, Bill, because the fact that just knowing how grant reimbursements work, they're going to want to see separate motions for those invoices.
Right.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so we'll start
Okay.
with like Mitch indicated, the first invoice is 0095371. The amount on that invoice is $26,892.50. And again, that was for Oscoda Phase A and B water mains. So is there a motion? I guess, are there any questions on that?
I guess I'm just gonna make a comment. I'm not comfortable on voting on any motion until I can have a further understanding of where the money's going and how we're getting reimbursed. I mean, just show me a spreadsheet on each one of these. And I'd really like to understand how it takes almost 6 or 7 months to get invoices. I mean, I'm assuming, Rick, you guys bill your time on a monthly basis.
That is correct. And these were generated on a monthly basis, and they just did not get sent out by that accountant.
I bet you're
Tammy-
loving that.
Tammy and Mitch, or the superintendent, or whoever was the superintendent at the time, do ask for the reimbursements, Rick, just so you know.
Okay,
I just get the money and let them know it's here.
okay. Yeah, I wasn't, yeah, okay, understood.
Okay.
Well,
Hey, Rick, this is Bill Palmer.
Yeah.
We talked about it on Friday. I was wondering if I had a map that showed all the different phases.
oh, I forgot to send that to you.
phases. I was wondering if you could send that out to all the board members so we can have an idea of what these phases are and where they are in the community. I had that map. I I just can't find it.
No,
Yeah,
I can,
And you sent it to me, Rick, and on Friday I told everybody I would send it and I forgot. So I can just forward the email that you sent to me, or you can
Okay.
send the same one. I apologize, Bill.
Okay, that's all right.
Yep. So, I mean,
The issue that we're gonna have though is that our books are getting closed.
Right.
Jamie, if I'm correct, Thursday?
Yes, our trial balance has to go to the auditors Thursday.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Steve, in regard to wanting documentation at the same time. I feel that Roe has been the engineer on record for the township for how many years now?
since fall of 2017.
Yeah, so, and has made every one of our, our grant applications and follow through. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm,
I'm not saying anything about the company. I just.
yeah, I'm
questioned
not,
the
I'm not
amount of
saying, yeah.
time.
I'm
And
just-
I just, in my seat here, I don't feel comfortable voting on this amount of money without more documentation. And we're getting, and I understand the issue with getting the number to the auditor. I'm only one vote.
Do we have anything readily available that would satiate your request, Mr. Woosterbarth, that you could think of? I don't even know what to ask for.
Well, we
You're
would
asking-
we would need the grant, I mean, we would need the project estimates, I would assume, Rick, for each one of
Yeah,
the
I
grant
could-
applications and just, indicate where we are, I guess, on the budget wise, for each one of those.
Is this
Right,
something that we could table till later in the meeting and give Mr. Freeman time to maybe pull something, some documentation up and make Mr. Woosterbarth more comfortable in this proceeding?
That might be a little difficult for me tonight since our offices are closed. But,
So you do not have access to the electronic documents at this time?
no, I mean, other than I've got a copy of the invoices that you have in front of you. So
Fair enough.
the other thing is we just, between us and the township, for these two projects, the part one of the application and part two of the application were just submitted to Eagle at the beginning of last week, which those sheets shows the engineering, pre-planning and all of that stuff that's in the budget to Eagle for basically setting up the loan closing, grant closing for those projects. That had all of the summary numbers in it. And Mitch signed off on those and we submitted those. Part one went in, I think, on Wednesday of last week, and part two went in on Tuesday or Monday, Tuesday. The snowstorm kind of threw us for one day loop in there, but so.
Okay, well,
I
we've
guess in
heard-
regards
yeah.
to, I guess, from Bill, Jamie, and Tim, as they were on the prior board, they're more familiar with this than the new board members, so I'd like to hear comments from them in regards to these bills and if they're okay with it.
Well, I would say I'm okay with it. I have total confidence in the work Roe's done to date for us. They've done exceptional work. These water main extensions are all projects that we owe to the community to get done, to get water to these communities. This area A, I believe, is at the south end of Van Etten Lake, I believe, where a number of wells had tested positive for the PFAS. So it's, I think it's critical that we get working on that. And our goal was to have, get funding in place for each one of these so that every year we have money and funding and the engineering done to complete a project every year, a portion of each one of these phases to get the water mains extended. So I know all of these invoices, what's described in the work. I know that work has been done. And I'm more than comfortable with approving payments. I understand, snafus happen at companies and, things like that. But since we're under a bit of a time crunch here for our audit, I would like to make a motion to approve invoice number 0095371 in the amount of
I support that.
$26,892.50.
Thank you. I support that, Bill.
Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, a support by Mr. Cummings. Any further questions or discussion? Okay,
I
I
just
would
want
have
to
to,
add that,
oh, go
I
ahead,
just want
Tim.
to add that on, thank you. I just want to add that on this invoice in case it hadn't been noted. If you see toward the bottom, the total billings is there as well as the limit and the remaining. So it supports what Roe is saying when they say they're coming in under budget. It's also documented on the invoice. So it's not as though we're approving something that's gone over budget as a point. So it's just some additional information that may help to quell some concerns.
thank you, Tim.
Thank
Jamie?
you.
I was just gonna say, I agree with Bill, and COVID, it's been a challenging year for everybody. So I can understand how some things like this happen, and I'm okay with paying the invoices.
Okay, so we have a motion and support for the invoice. Roll call, please, Josh.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Mr. Cummings,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next, we have invoice 0095683 in the amount of $25,432. And that is referencing wastewater pump station improvements. Rick, do you have any comments on that?
Same as before. This is for the CW SRF project. This is the one where, like I said, we're rehabbing several of the pump station, putting in new controls, putting in the screen out at the lagoon. This is the projects that were identified and came out of the SAW grant study that was done by Spicer several years ago. And like I said before, that I apologize for this happening. Won't happen again. And at the work session or whenever I can, I will provide whatever backup information any of the board members want to see as far as where we're at and stuff. And there is still a construction component of all of these. So if once you have a chance to look at that and you are still concerned or questioned or whatever, you have the ability to hold back on the construction component once we get there too, until we make it right with you. So.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve this one?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve invoice 0095683 in the amount of $25,432.
support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Palmer, a supported by Ms. McGuire. And roll call, Josh?
Ms. McGuire,
Yes,
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings, Mr. Cummings,
He should be there.
did he accidentally mute himself?
nope, I'm sorry, nope,
Nope.
nope, nope, nope.
Nope.
I'm here. I couldn't get off mute. I'm sorry about that. So the answer, my vote is yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next we have invoice, and I'm gonna go a little slow with these because I know Josh has got to add all these to the meeting minutes. So invoice 0095573 The amount on that one is $5,762.50. And that is for Old Orchard Campground improvements. So Rick, again, that's the,
Yeah,
that's
this
the
is
project that we're
yeah.
out to bid for now with,
Yep, the shoreline
Henry.
improvements, drainage out there, with the steel sheet piling and wood deck and all that stuff.
okay. Any questions from anybody on that or a motion to approve?
I'll make a
Okay.
motion that we improve the invoice number 95573 in the amount of $5,762.50.
Support.
Okay, motion by McGuire, support by Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wursterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
yes,
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Next is invoice number 00955370 in the amount of $3,182.50. And that is also for Old Orchard Campground improvements. So the
And
same project.
Same thing there, and you can see the billing limits on there that we were able to come in under budget on that project also.
Okay, any questions or further discussion?
I just wanted to let the board members know too, once we enter these into the PO system and we created an accounts payable, that if the invoice numbers are the same, then it'll kick it back and say we have already paid it or this or that. So we do have different things, you know, saying to kind of look at it from our end too, to compare it to other invoices.
Some safeguards in place.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Thanks, Jeremy.
You betcha.
That's a good point. Thanks, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve invoice 00955370 in the amount of $3,182.50.
Support?
support,
Okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
yes,
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wursterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next is 00955576. Invoice in the amount of $21,758.75. And that's for Oscoda phases A and B water main. Rick, any addition? I mean, that's for,
Yeah, that was just the
Oakland Green.
September invoice for that same project.
okay. Is there a motion or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve invoice number 00955576 in the amount of $21,758.75.
I'll support that. So there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Ms. Richards. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
yes,
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wursterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. And last but not least, I don't think, is invoice number 0094,965 in the amount of $28,471.25. No, I lied.
38,416.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, the next page, 38,416.75. Sorry about that. And that is for, again, phase A and B water main. Any additional comments, Rick?
Again, that was just that was the July 23rd invoice.
All right, any discussion or motion? I make a
I'll make-
motion.
I'll make a motion to approve invoice 0094965 in the amount of $38,416.75.
Okay.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wurschtebarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, all right, moving on then to the LOI Huron Shores Artisan Hall.
Okay, so you have in your
Counteroffer?
pack, yep, you have in your packet, the counter offered from Vincent Eiler in the amount of 110,000.
Hey, do we have some discussion, questions?
I'll make a motion that we reject Mr. Eiler's counter offer.
support,
Okay, motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Wurschtebarth,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Next is the LOI Huron Shores Artisan Hall revised offer. Mitch?
Okay, we received a revised offer from David and Ann, and please forgive me if you're online, I messed your name up. Radage, do I have that right? I hope so. I really hope so. And their offer still stands at $200,000. They have also included a proof of funds documentation with their revised offer. With this in hand, that should be considered an LOI that the board should now act upon.
Did this go through our real estate company, or did they give it directly to us? And does that matter?
Well, that's
Sure.
interesting.
It should matter.
The
We-
letter
we
of in-
hired the-
yeah.
We hired a real estate company to process these things, so we should be consistent and put them all through the same path.
I'll
So
put
is it
back on back on the line, but it's my understanding that he, the offer originally, because of time,
Was
or
given
talked to
him.
them, the LOI or our listing contract had actually expired due to a technicality, so I can see if Todd is still there, if you have any questions, but that's would be my thought as to why it didn't go through Friedman.
Yeah, if I could just make a quick comment, your item number 5 is the Friedman listing agreement revision and through an administrative error on their part. Like technically, the listing did expire on Huron Shores Artisan Hall at the end of December. Then the Rataj family came forward and wanted to submit an offer, so we did not do it through them. If you address number 5, that will retroactivate their listing to January 1, and thereby this offer would be put through Friedman, formally, or if you accept the LOI, then we would run the purchase agreement through Friedman.
So are there any legal ramifications going either direction? It seems like there should be a specific path that we need to follow here, and we've got a couple different options, and I'm not sure which one is the correct path.
Sounds like a comment for our attorney if he's on the line.
He is, or he was.
I'm here.
Hi, Matt.
Hey,
Hi.
Good evening, everybody. So the issue is that the agreement with the Realtor lapsed and is not currently in place. You received an offer, but if the new agreement was signed, it would be retroactive to a date or to a date prior to the receipt of the offer. I would have to review the agreement in more detail to see how that would work out. But what I can say is that the offer that you've received from the Rataj family is a legitimate offer in terms of, actually being a letter of intent. I'd have to look into it more to see how it would interplay with the Friedman listing agreement.
I just don't want to step on anybody's toes here. So we're kind of looking for, I think that the Rataj offer is legitimate. I just want to make sure that if we do have an agreement with Friedman or if we don't, and we sign a new agreement that's going to be retroactive, that we're not going to put ourselves in hot water by discussing that offer outside of, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know what to do. So
I guess I just
Well-
have a simple question. Is a commission due if we proceed with Rataj? Is listings expired, or we sign this agreement with Friedman and we have a commission due?
So my discussion with Ann, since we're both licensed realtors, that we think that Friedman ought to adjust their fee downward due to a number of errors that they've made. I mean, even in just this listing contract, the date's wrong and appendixes are wrong. And to me,
Legal description is
number
wrong.
some number less than 5,000 seemed appropriate.
Right. Well, generally speaking, in a listing agreement, again, I can't, you have a listing agreement with somebody, you have a commission that you're supposed to get paid if you sell the property, if you sell it at full price. If you sell it for less than full price, sometimes that can be negotiated with your listing, with your client. So I feel, based on the fact that it's not a full price offer, and we voiced this, and Todd, please feel free to jump up at any time, but Todd and I voiced this directly with the two agents that came on site when we went to go talk about the Ani Medical, and the disappointment and how long it took them to get a sign up, which was the end of December. It might have even been the beginning of January, get it on their website, and then everything that's happened since, not having correct information even with the listing contract, they referenced the wrong legal description, which Mr. Palmer pointed out last Friday, and we had to get them to revise it. So,
with this
to.
laundry list of issues, are we even considering renewing our agreement with them? I guess we're kind of stuck between these two items here.
Yeah, I guess that's something that Matt's going to have to look at further, our attorney. But bottom line, the EIC went out to bid, did an RFP for both the Ani and the Artisan Hall, but then just did the contract for the Artisan Hall. So,
as a test.
As a test, and they haven't done very well. That being said, I was on site with them at Ani, and their forte is, I think, the auction stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
You're off topic. You're off topic.
I don't know what you mean by I'm off topic. We're talking about the contract in regard to,
So, should we just be discussing the LOI with Rataj?
Yeah.
Well, we brought in the contract, Todd did, in regard to whether or not we could even be discussing this. So that's why I was talking.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to move forward, whether or not they need to submit that offer through Friedman if we're going to re-sign with them. But then,
no, I think that Matt already corrected that and said that it is an offer.
Not only is it an offer, but there's no current agreement in place with Friedman. And so it seems that the offer from Rataj should have come directly to the township, since there was no listing agreement in place at the time that they submitted the offer. I think the real discussion is going to be whether a fee is owed to Friedman, and if so, what that fee would be. And so I would suggest that if there's going to be any action on the offer from Rataj tonight, that you withhold on signing the revised listing agreement with Friedman, because we're going to need to talk to them specifically about this arrangement.
Okay,
Thank,
so
thank you. That's what I needed to hear.
Yep, me
Okay.
too. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think in fairness, we need to come to an agreement on the Rata offer. So we don't keep them, hanging in limbo. And I think since the next item is the Friedman agreement, I would make a motion that we accept the offer from the Rata family for $200,000.
Would you amend your motion to include $10,000 earnest money and they have to close the deal in 60 days? Otherwise it goes back on the market?
Sure. I will amend my motion to include a $10,000 deposit and the closing has to be within 60 days.
I would support that motion.
okay, so there's a motion by Mr. Palmer. Did you get that, Josh?
Yep, and then closing is in 60 days, 10K deposit,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
I guess I just, depending on what happens with environmental and stuff, I'm not sure if 60 days could occur. I guess I would just mention that, so. But roll call.
Okay, we'll call Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wishtabarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. All right, next on is the Friedman listing agreement. I
Well,
make a
you
mo-
can,
Hmm?
sure. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I think we kind of discussed this.
Yes.
I would say postpone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I move to postpone until the attorney has ample time to look over the new agreement and can make recommendations.
Might I suggest that you make a motion to postpone until the next regular meeting of the board?
I so amend my motion.
Thank
I
you.
support.
okay, there's,
Just one point. Do we actually have to postpone this? This is, I was anticipating getting a listing agreement from them for both the Awning and the Artisan Hall. Since this is just for the Artisan Hall, it seems to me, we've accepted an offer to purchase it. I guess I don't see why we would need to do anything with this agreement. If they want to bring up a proposal for an agreement on Awning, then, that's fine, but I don't see the point in even considering this listing agreement. It would be listing a property that we've
Doesn't
agreed to
exist.
sell.
Well, that's a good point. Is it too late to rescind my motion? No, that's since it's already been seconded,
yeah,
or do we just have to vote on it and vote no and then make a new motion?
I understand where Bill's coming from, but in the same sense, it was in theory a technicality in regard to the end date of the original listing agreement. So I
Devil's
feel
in the
that we.
details.
I
The devil's in the details.
understand that, but I still think it's important to have the attorney review to make sure that we're handling it correctly. I guess that would be my thought, but. Any other discussion before we vote?
Well, do we still have the attorney on the line? I thought he had
We do.
said that specifically, we don't have an agreement with Friedman. That, I think that's what I understood him to say. So if we don't have an agreement with them, then what we're being asked in the packet today is to approve this agreement. And if we don't need this agreement now, then maybe Mac could clear that up for us. I don't know.
I could clear it up. I'd like to have an opportunity to review it with that in mind. I don't see any harm in postponing it, because postponing it doesn't mean that in 2 weeks you will approve that agreement. You could reject the agreement and not sign it in 2 weeks. I would just like some time to take a look at it in light of what's going on here.
Okay, and you'll be able to get back to us before 2 weeks to let us know what your opinion is?
Yes.
Okay, well then, let's go ahead and vote on the motion that's at hand.
Okay. All right, are you ready for the roll call then, Josh?
Could
Who
you
was the
repeat the
support?
motion?
The motion was to postpone until the next regularly scheduled township board meeting, the Friedman listing agreement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And who supported that?
I did, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
yes,
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wursterbar,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on to the approval for Old Orchard Park Shoreline Erosion Project. Phase
Okay.
1.
Yes, this is to establish an award of the contract work to John Henry and also break the project into phases, so it will be completed over 2 fiscal years instead of 1. And Rick talked about it tonight. So I would ask the board would make a motion to approve a recommendation to have this project completed in 2 phases and also approve the final phase 1 amount of $98,000. And then, so that would be for the contractor work for John Henry. I don't know if I want to make a motion to approve all of their contracted work, since that would be binding us to next year's budget, and I'm not really sure you should do that at this moment.
I don't see $98,000 on here. Where are you seeing that?
That's the amount that Mr. Freeman just spoke of tonight of what would be phase 1.
Okay.
Rick, would you concur that maybe it would be premature to award phase 2?
I'm gonna unmute him. Sorry, I think he was muted.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree because we don't anticipate any issues with phase 1, but if for some reason something came up, then we could work through those issues and then have a good solid number for you to put in your fiscal year 2022 budget to close out the project. So I think by just approving phase 1 would be appropriate.
And that's $98,000 even.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay, any further discussion or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Old Orchard Park Shoreline Erosion Project to be completed in 2 phases, with phase 1 being in the amount of $98,000, and to approve John Henry Excavating as the contractor for phase 1.
Support.
Yeah, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
yes,
Mr. Palmer,
Yes,
Sutton, yes, Mr. Wursterbar,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Ms. Richards.
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the EIC Township Board Joint Work Session action items.
Yes, I think we talked about this at the work session on Friday and the work session on Thursday. It sounded that there was 2 items that came from that work session. One would be the development by the EIC of kind of the framework for LOIs. And the second would be for legal counsel to review said development. And if there's any more, please chime in.
I think the only other thing was the EIC was gonna work on the property list as well. So, I mean, take our
You're correct. Yeah.
our township owned properties and plot them on a map, just so everybody was aware of where they are.
Yeah. So I would make motions to that effect, directing the EIC to perform those actions.
Any further discussion or a motion?
So what were the three property, the property listing map, and then what were the other two?
Property listing map, the EIC to develop the framework of the LOI and to have it reviewed by legal counsel prior to being considered for approval.
And the third item?
That was it. That
Was it?
Those
was
two?
it. That the adding the attorney part was the third part. So it was really just, it was 2 items, but one of them needed a attorney review.
Well, I move that we have the EIC develop the property listing map for our review, and that the EIC develop an LOI framework to be reviewed by the attorney.
I'll support that. There's a motion by Mr.
Jeremy?
Hmm?
What was the motion you made, Jeremy?
I move that we direct the EIC to generate a property listing map for our review and for use in the future, and that they also, that the EIC develop a framework for letters of intent being received, and that framework be reviewed by the township attorney to make sure it's all on the legal side of awesome, and so that we can move forward with it.
I just make one suggestion on that motion. Instead of a property listing, I would just say property, a township owned property list, I guess. It's not implying that anything
Fair
that's on
enough.
the list will be, yeah.
Yep, a proper, yep, so.
So it's
Yep.
just, it's a inventory, I guess, if you will, township owned property inventory.
Thank you for that. That's a good distinction.
Okay.
And I would like to change my motion to amend my motion to incorporate that, as Ms. Richards has said.
All right, any further discussion on that?
Do I need to say it again?
I don't think so.
Good.
No,
Who
you don't.
seconded?
No, because it changes every time, Jeremy.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We'll hit review on the meeting.
We're gonna have to listen to that one, Josh, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Who
Good thing you're
supported
recording.
this one?
I supported it with the
Oh.
change. So it's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. Richards. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Wishbarth,
Yes.
Ms. Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next on is the heating and cooling for the treasurer's office.
And we talked about this a little bit at the work session. I would like to propose that we investigate a unit be placed inside the treasurer's office that would heat and cool the space and not attempt to adjust or change the entire HVAC system on the building that may be renovated or done, something done to it in the future. To effectively do this, I don't know if I necessarily need a motion, just maybe some consensus, and then I'll go out and start talking to HVAC contractors, because it's a public building. We're gonna have to have it installed by licensed HVAC personnel. So if I could just get some consensus from the board, again, I don't necessarily need a motion. We're not acting upon anything right this moment, just a directional of not to attempt to adjust or change the major HVAC system on the building, but to pursue a localized HVAC solution.
And currently, just to go over it real quick.
Sure.
So currently there is one additional window unit in the office, and it is insufficient to compensate for the regular heating cooling system.
I
Or are
think
there-
it only deals with cooling, and then they're using space heater.
It's not a
Yes, the
heat pump,
heating.
it's only an air conditioner.
So
No, it's
there's-
heat. It's heat
Oh,
and
it
cold,
is it heat?
Oh, the heat is
okay.
Yeah.
there. Oh,
Yep, it
Yeah.
does both.
but it's not, it doesn't
Not big enough.
But there's only one of them. Somebody said something about that
Yeah.
there was one under each window, and I just wanted to make
Mhm.
sure that there was, okay.
No.
Yeah,
There's there's the one, and then Jamie in the summer has a mobile air conditioning unit that she
Well, hopefully
looks like
we
a
can-
dehumidifier, and she
Yeah.
puts that in the window of the other. And then I think that internally they have tried to vent some of the heat in there with another vent, but that didn't really do anything.
Well, I'd like to
Rest of the
see 3 different quotes from 3 different companies and make sure that they have the square footage and all that fun stuff of the office. And you know, maybe I don't know how detailed they want to get, but the unit itself, I don't know if we should try and supplement what's already in there, or if we should look for a unit that could technically handle that entire room by itself, so that there's not any more problems in the future.
That would be my preference, is to remove all these temporaries and have one unit service that entire space.
Right, but there's already one in there, so I don't know if we need to, if then that one, the other one's already a permanent structure, right? I mean, it's built into the wall, right?
It's it's actually like a sleeve that got put in there, so it can pop back out again. But yes, it's a permanent cutout.
Gotcha. Is that enough direction for you, Mitch? A little
Yeah. As long as there's no consent and no direction of changing the major HVAC system on the building.
Nope.
No.
Okay, thank you. I thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, next on, we move to resolutions and ordinances. We have resolution number 2021-03, which is the commitment of funds for the IET. Did we get a corrected amount on that? I know we were discussing that.
The one that is shown on the website has been corrected.
Okay. And that amount is?
200,000.
Okay. Right, is there any discussion on this resolution, or are we ready to pass it?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2021-03 for the commitment of funds for the EIT.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Palmer, I think, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Palmer for resolution number 2021-03. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Miss McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Miss Richards.
Yes, motion carried.
Who was the motion and support on that one?
Me
Um,
and Palmer.
Your motion, Palmer, support?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're on other closure of construction account. Mitch?
Jamie, actually, do you want to talk
Jamie?
about? You're
Oh,
probably
that's fine.
the most knowledgeable, so.
Well, thank you very much. This is a housekeeping item for the board. Just I just need your approval to close the checking account out. This was for phase 1 water main. We've already closed out the phase 2 checking account. That was back in November. We're closing out the first one later because we had the MacArthur
Situation.
Yes, that we had to deal with before closing this out. In the board packet is a memo or an email from Troy from USDA letting me know that it was okay to go ahead and close that out. There was remaining funds in there that he said that I could move to the water fund, and that was a total of $389.44, which I've already done. So now I'm just waiting for the board to approve this so I can have the bank close that checking account out.
I so move.
I was gonna say, is there a motion? Support?
I'll support that.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support, sorry, by Mr. Palmer. To close that account, roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth,
Yes.
Miss McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Miss Richards,
Yes, motion carried. Okay, we are now moving on to the public comment section of the agenda. We have approximately 48 people zoomed in this evening, so I'm assuming a couple people are here for public comment. That being said, if you are on a computer, you can do the raised hand option, I guess you would say, feature, however you want to say it. So I'm going to start with that. You will be asked to, if you do raise your hand and want to speak, you'll be asked to give your name, and then you do have 4 minutes to speak. So again, we are in the public comment section. So I do not see so far anybody that has a computer that has a raised hand. So, oh, now I do. Apparently it was a delay. So I'm going to start at the person on the top, which is Vince. Okay. I think you should be on, Vince. Or you were. Where'd you go?
He
He went down
He's,
here.
he's
Oh.
on mute.
Oh, I did the raise. Yeah, I forgot to hit that. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry
There he
about that,
is.
Vince. I hit the raise hand button, not the.
Okay. Tell me when my time starts.
All right, let me find my timer.
It won't be long.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, first thing, I'm kind of disappointed that you guys allowed my bid on the Artisan building to expire. I put it in November, and I'm highly disappointed that it took so long for you to take a look at that bid, and it expired, and that should be something is inexcusable. With that being said, I sure hope that anybody else making bids on property in the township be done in a very timely manner, seeing as though a couple of you are realtors. The next item I have is that we have a lot of master plans that have been, I guess, redone over the years. And the latest one, there were 3 drawings of the Ratliff Park, the beachfront, and Furtaw Field. My question is where are those standing right now in the township? They're wonderful drawings. They could get the township and the community, looking a heck of a lot better than what it does. I mean, we've done some things already, but I think the master plans that we have in place should be instituted. My other question is can Roe write the recreation grants to get this thing moving? Is there any response to any of that? Anybody answer a question?
Okay, we generally don't answer like right away when people make public comments, so.
All right, well, I would like a reply then, please.
Okay, sure.
And I'm very pleased that whoever got the RRC going, that it's within attainable reach. That's going to take and help with any top-notch developers who want to come in and develop the area. So with that being said, thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you, Vince.
Thanks, Vinny.
Okay. All right, next up is John Barta. I believe I just asked you to unmute.
Yep. Okay, you
Okay.
got me?
Yeah, I did.
All
Thank
right.
you, John.
Yeah, I want to make a comment about, I don't know, I think Mr. Dickerson made something of a disparaging remark about the public having scared away, is it Renovare? In reference to Furtaw Field. This whole Furtaw Field deal seems to have come about due to a lack of transparency about what was going on. Prior to the notice, I'll call it, on the internet about Furtaw Field being for sale. I had never, for one, heard anything about Renovare or anything about Furtaw being for sale, as that was something of a campaign issue during the election. So anyway, the Renovare outfit has been scared off, as Mr. Dickerson said, and all of that discussion could have probably been avoided with a little more transparency on what was going on. And that's all I got to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay. All right, next is Valerie. I'm sorry, it starts with a B. I don't want to mispronounce it.
It's Basim.
Okay, I would have mispronounced it, so I'm glad I didn't try.
Yeah, everybody calls me Bassam. I answer to whatever.
All right.
So,
All right, Valerie, thanks. You do have 4 minutes. I'm going to start your timer now. Go ahead.
okay, I'm obviously here for Furtaw Field.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of rumors that you guys don't understand that we don't want anything to happen to Furtaw Field. I kind of find that hard to believe. I'm sure that you've heard everything under the sun as far as that goes, but we don't want Furtaw Field gone. We were under the impression that Furtaw Field is supposed to be left the way it is. It was left to the community to be left as is and not to be developed into apartments such as that. Maybe you guys can clear that up for us or whatever, along the lines of the transparency. Maybe you could answer some questions about that for us.
Okay, do you have any other questions then?
No, that would be it.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I did see another hand. Christopher, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Or it comes up Christopher anyways.
Hello.
Hi, Christopher.
Yeah, this is Christopher Gerard. How are you all tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. I have a few comments and a concern about the downtown area.
Okay.
I'd like to know if there's any zoning laws that will protect the few remaining balance of infrastructure of commercial stores in the downtown. You've had tremendous number of stores torn down over the years. You can go on Google Images, look at the downtown area of Oscoda from a picture from back, I believe from the 1980s or 70s, and it's hard to believe it's the same downtown. You say, where in the hell did all the stores go? You have a lot of gap spaces in the downtown area now, which makes the downtown unwalkable. Unless you want to walk past pocket parks, driveways, parking lots, pebble parks, where there once was stores but are no longer there. I don't know if those lots could ever be stores again in the future. I hope that they could be. You say you want to attract retail and business to the downtown. So then why would you use 20,000 square feet for a health clinic that will take up half of a block? The back of the building will be facing State Street. Nobody will be able to go into that building from State Street for anything. It will do nothing for tourism, and it'll do nothing for business and retail. The insurance designers man moved out of Oscoda because of the health clinic. I own a building across the street. I'm in freeze mode. I don't know what to do with my 4 retail stores that are vacant in downtown Oscoda. I had no idea they were going to make the downtown a health clinic or hospital center. I don't know if you guys want tourism or if you really want a thriving downtown. Looks to me like you want to get rid of your downtown, yet you expect me to interject capital and my money to put businesses down there for what? To what end? To no good end. So I have no incentive to do anything in the downtown area. I'm sitting on piles of capital, lots of money that I could easily put 4 businesses down there. 3 businesses left the downtown because of the health clinic. 4th, including insurance designers. I'm across the street. I'm almost ready to call it quits on downtown Oscoda. So I am a business guy. I'm not the government. I'm not the board. I'm not theoretical. I'm the real deal. I am the guy you're trying to bring down to your downtown area. And I don't like what I see. What I would like you to do, and this is my final request, start at Vinny's hardware store and walk the downtown yourself. Get out of your office, walk all the way down to the Chinese restaurant, cross the street, and walk all the way back up. It's a very laborious walk because you've got pocket parks, sitting parks, driveways, parking lots. People wanted parking lots, so they tore stores down because they wanted more parking lot space. You don't have a downtown anymore. You have a fraction of a downtown that you once had. And if you want me, a retail person, to put my money in your downtown, you better get a downtown. If I'm going to remodel stores and build stores up, why are you tearing them down? Because I look like a jackass in the process. You're making a fool out of me. I can't be driving 3 hours up north. I'm not going to drive 3 hours up north for pocket parks and parking lots. No one's going to do that. And the reason why I'm very strong about this, because I have skin in the game. I've spent a lot of money in that downtown already, and I have a lot more capital that I was ready to release 2 years ago until I saw what was going on. And I almost feel like this health clinic is putting it past the point of no return. I don't even know that you have the infrastructure downtown to do anything.
Okay. All right, you're got 5 seconds left.
I'm done.
Okay, and Chris, I'm sorry, can we get your spelling of your last name?
Gerard.
Okay, thank you for
You're
your
welcome.
comments. Sorry. Okay. All right. Carrie Osborne, I'm gonna hit ask to unmute. Carrie?
Hello.
Hi. Hi,
How
Carrie.
are you?
I'm good, and you?
Fantastic.
Hey,
Good.
Gary.
I'm glad to see you folks are finally doing something with promoting things and the economy here in Oscoda. As far as the buildings downtown, you know, I have visions of things that I would like to do, but it's discouraging. There are no signs. There are no for rent signs. You can go down and find out via tax information who owns the buildings. However, it seems that everybody wants to get upset over what's not going to come instead of just building up and contributing to what the board wants to do. I think the board wants to move forward and promote Oscoda as well, regardless of whether it's tourism or whatnot. If somebody owns 3 empty buildings downtown, I would consider that not necessarily a failure, but it is discouraging. There are things that can be done to put into buildings downtown, and putting money into them is part of the maintenance and part of the responsibility of the building owners. And if we're tired of seeing empty buildings, things need to go into them. And with the vision of things that are to come to this community, I think the people of this town should step up and come up with ideas instead of criticizing and being discouraged at what's happening with Furtaw Field and other things within the community, and contribute instead of tear down and try and figure out how to destroy it. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, I am not seeing any other raised hands. So that being said, this is where if you are on the phone and you would like to public comment, I'm gonna actually open it up. To allow participants to unmute themselves. Again, if you've already spoken and done the raise hand feature, then this would not be applicable to you. But I have just opened it up to anybody that has called in. If you would like to make a public comment, you should be able to do so. I'm not seeing or hearing. Can't, 739, I think you're on there, Brian.
Yeah, I had to hit.
All right.
And
Okay.
I got feedback. Can you hear me now?
Yes, let me just clear the timer. All right, Brian, you have
All right.
4 minutes.
4 minutes, is
Yep,
that it?
that's it. That's it. Start talking.
Yeah. I'm not gonna rush it because you'll miss half of it anyway. Okay. Hey, I'm thankful. I'm glad Runavar is backing out. I think we need to give Dickerson, Wygant, and everyone else some guidance. I believe it's high time. If you guys haven't heard, I mean, the last board obviously didn't listen, and you're starting a new board, so we're not going to be harsh. Thing of it is no one wants FRTA developed as a business or a government building. The voice was loud and clear. And I'm asking that this board take, obviously, the Oscoda Beach off any for sale. I don't care if it's 10 billion or 10 trillion. You wouldn't know what to do with the money anyway. It all bring is corruption. Take the beach off, FRTA, and then give Todd some fine marching orders to help to develop the town. And I think it's past due. We felt that after last year, I've never seen such an outcry from Oscoda citizens simply saying no. And they were clear. And I know all you guys can hear. I know you see. You had to have seen that. We need guidance for Dickerson and Wygant so they know what they're going to do as they move forward. And we need to do that. We need to, in fact, I'll take it this far. If no one wants to make the motion, someone should make the motion and let's have the count. And if you've got 3 or 4 that still, for some weird, goofy reason, thinks that they want to try this again with FRTA, at least we'll know who they are. Okay? That's fair. It's fair to the town. So let's tighten that up and make it clear for Dickerson, Wygant, and all the rest. A couple other things. As far as Dickerson, and when you talk about Facebook, I don't want to get too far into this. When you look up, you don't put a pejorative to Facebook because Facebook is actually individuals talking. Those are your citizens. Now, you don't like their opinion. A lot of times, I'm going to be straight with you. A lot of times I hear things coming from this board from 4 years ago, even till now, that I don't like. Tough. That's life. That's just the way it goes. To Mr. Mitchell, at the last meeting, you brought up might be some ambiguity between the EIC, and you use the word shall. Now, this is from your own document in your packet. Whereas, and this is concerning the EIC written out by Weed's former board, whereas this committee, meaning the EIC, shall serve under the Oscoda Board of Trustees and work alongside the Planning Commission and other state and federal entities. They are subordinate. They are under. So you got to all get on the same page on that. Now, also in your board packet, section 5.3 under the EIC, maybe here's some confusion. Maybe Todd doesn't realize. You have a Michigan Economic Development Commission. Maybe that's just a misprint or whatever you want to call it. It is a corporation. Nothing wrong with that. These are 3 entities from, I believe, state government, or there might be even a federal one in there, clarify it. And then the other part of it is corporations who have their own ideology. They are a corporation. There's no doubt about that. It is a 501c3. We're all for the MEDC. We don't want to hurt anything with the spaceport. We understand these things. We're not dumb. Smart Growth America. I'm
Okay,
calling on.
Timer. Timer.
Okay.
Time's up. Sorry.
All right. Smart Growth America.
Okay, thank you.
Study it.
Okay.
Study it. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, moving on. Dave Eiler. I just asked to unmute.
Yes, ma'am.
You there? Okay.
Yes.
Let me just set your timer, Dave. Oh,
All right.
go ahead.
Well, I want to thank Mr. Dickerson for all the work he's done during his tenure here with the EIC. As vice chair of the EIC, I find it disheartening that a few members, such as Mr. Haley of the community, were able to push away a developer with rumors and blatant lies before the entire community was even able to hear the proposals. That's what we want to do. We want to hear before we make decisions rather than shoot it down before we hear it. I hope the members of the We Are Oscoda Facebook page, including Mr. Haley, are happy with themselves for stopping the progression of building any infrastructure in this downtown. With the spaceport comes here, we'll be more of a laughingstock to the entire state because we don't have our act together when it comes how to sell property or whether or not there's enough housing to support the potential influx of peoples and jobs. Now, speaking of Mark Wygant, when he was on this Facebook page that you were on, Mr. Haley, he was just trying to give ideas and be positive on this. Instead, he was brought down by the negativity of a small handful of people in this area that don't seem to agree with anything as to try to make this town prosper. They must want to live back in the old days. And, you know, talking about the We Are Oscoda Facebook, I also find it shocking that a township board member is the administrator to this page, yet had nothing to say or back up Mr. Wygant on any of this. I find that very sad. You know, also Fertile Field has been listed on the EIC micro website since December. So all of this news is old. You're just finding out about it. There is transparency 100%. And it's not our fault if you don't do your due diligence and actually read what's out there for you. I thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Right. Anybody else that's on the call that has public comment, please? Okay, I don't see any other raised hands. I don't hear any other public comment. We're going to move on then to board comments. I actually, though, I'm going to take 1 minute, everybody. I got to mute everybody and then unmute you again as the board, if that's okay. Can you just give me that? Nobody's saying, okay, all right, so. Okay, last. I think I have all the board members. I guess if you could just, Steve, I think I see you there. So Jamie, are you there?
Yep.
All right. Bill, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Jeremy, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Tim, are you there?
I am. Thank you.
Okay. Josh, are you there?
Yes, I am.
And where's Mitch? Mitch.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're all here. Okay. So moving on to board comment. Does anybody have any board comment?
Yeah. And if I might, I'd like to make a couple of comments.
Sure, Mr. Palmer.
First of all, to Mr. Eiler's point about the parks, several years ago, the previous board wanted to take a look at upgrading some of our parks. And at the time, we were doing an updated master plan, and a survey was done of the township. And one of the many comments in there was to do something with Fertile Field. So while we hired Beckett and Rader as landscape architects to look at some of our parks, and originally it was just going to be Ratliff Park and the Beach Park. Well, we said, well, let's have them take a look at Fertile Field, even though it isn't officially a park, to see what might be done with that. And they came up with some plans for that. And all of those designs were put in Township Hall for a period of time. excuse me. At the time, unfortunately, Beckett Rader went to work for us trying to acquire some grants on our behalf for those projects. And at that time, for some reason, a lot of the money for those kinds of grants just dried up. And so we weren't able to pursue any of those plans. They were fairly sizable amounts of money anyway, but it was something that we were looking to undertake. I think it would be a good idea to maybe look into that again for at least Ratliff and the beach park. There were some beautiful plans for those two parks. The other point I wanted to talk about is it's very disappointing to me that we've lost the interest of Renovare for their plans here in Oscoda. And I think it was unfair because there was a lot of chat on Facebook about the plans. And unfortunately, the township none of us actually got to see a description of what their plans were. It wasn't until Todd read the letter today that described what their plans were going to encompass. And that was not only, housing, but also, retail business and green space, a place for the Paul Bunyan to be, a pavilion. A lot of the things that the town, that some of the people have commented they wanted to have. And I think it was unfortunate that, that the overall plan of theirs wasn't presented to the township and to and I understand with COVID, it's difficult to, we weren't able to have an in-person presentation by those folks, and it's difficult to do via Zoom for that. But I'm truly disappointed because, like I mentioned before, the surveys that were done in the past, the biggest comment on there by far is the empty buildings in downtown. And the gentleman, Mr. Gerard, that was on earlier, owns property down there. I understand his concern. And from a business perspective, the only way to get businesses in those vacant buildings is to have people downtown. If you don't have people to come into businesses, you can't sustain a business. That's not rocket surgery to figure out. So the tentative idea of putting housing downtown on Furtaw Field with the ideas that Renovare had, I think would have been phenomenal. It would have brought people permanently to the downtown so that businesses would have that foot traffic on a full year-round basis. And I'm very disappointed that the way this is, we've asked Mr. Dickerson to, advertise the township and to try and bring developers in. He's done that, and they get shot down. So that's very disappointing to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any other board members?
I would just like to concur with Mr. Palmer's comments. I think it's extremely disappointing that the public is unable to see these plans. I would hope at a point in time, we're going to be able to get to a point in this community where we can all have a clear and concise conversation on what's best for the community. At this point, everybody going off half-cocked, I think, is just uncalled for. And I hope at some point in time that the EIC and Mr. Dickerson and Mr. Iyer can get Renovare back interested, because I'm with Bill. I firmly believe if the public would have seen the plans, at least we would have had a good and positive conversation, and then let the people make a decision. But to make a decision without seeing what was offered, I think is very unfair. And it does nothing for our community. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Mr. Cummings or Mr. Spencer, do you have anything? Ms. McGuire, Mr. Sutton?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Jamie.
Next Monday, March 1st is the last day to pay taxes. The treasurer's office will be open from 8 to 5. to be able to help anybody. If you've overlooked paying your taxes, give us a call. We can look up the correct amounts. Taxes were due a week ago Monday, and so now there's penalties that are applied. So you'll want to make sure you stop in to get the correct amount or give us a call at 739-7471.
Okay, thank you. Tim, did you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay,
It's already been said.
all right, Jeremy?
Ditto on Mr. Cummings.
Okay, Josh?
I would just like to say that in campaigning and running for this office, it was brought to light the concerns in the township and a lot of people wanting transparency. And I'm hoping that for the community and ourselves as a board, that we can learn from this current situation and learn to work together with each other, have these opportunities presented, and hopefully that the community will have trust that we will hear these opportunities and present them to the community with transparency. And in the end, a decision won't be made until we have collected all of those facts, and hoping that they can trust us to work with them for the betterment of our community. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well said. I guess I just am just going to add the one, Mr. Vince, you made a comment in regard to the LOI that it expired. I just wanted to, I guess, clarify that your offer did not expire. We actually responded to your offer and we did a counter in the amount of $200,000 and you countered back at 110, at which we rejected. So your offer never expired, even with the situation that we had going with the real estate company. So I apologize if there's any confusion there, but we did act on your, must admit it was not in the most timely manner, but we did act on your offer. So other than that, I have no other board comment at this time. I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Night.